Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. And today we've got another Gun Gripe episode for you. And there's so much stuff going on right now that we're having to pull. I mean, look at all this. We're having to pull all of this stuff into one big video because we can't keep up with it all. There's so many things going on right now that we literally, if all we did was make videos about this stuff, that's all that we would put out. So we have to try to get some of this stuff out, and some of it, you know, there's some hairy stuff going on, and we definitely want to comment about it and just make sure people are aware of it.
Harry is right.
Harry's right. Where do we really want to start here? You want to start with Trump talking about the stocks?
It's like, I'm gonna write those bump stocks out bigly. I don't care. I'm gonna write them out.
He's gonna write. Well, that's what he's saying.
All right, you're gonna just write them out. All right. Well, I guess we can just forget about the the enumerated powers of Congress and all that too. You know, like Congress doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna write those bump stocks right on out of there bigly.
Well, to be fair though,
what
presidents have always used executive powers, abused. Dare I say, abused executive powers in that way. It's nothing new to have presidents just do things with the stroke of a pen. But I think the biggest issue I have is how we're failing to really see some solidarity on this whole thing. You know, the NRA is being really hush-hush about it. They're obviously not telling their base to fight any potential bump stock bans that might be on the horizon. And of course, you know, Trump has come out and said that he's supported these devices. And then, you know, recently, even Trey Gowdy, okay, Trey Gowdy's on the way out, I get it, but even Trey Gowdy was like, oh yeah, I'd support a ban on those. Trey Gowdy? Now look, when Trey Gowdy says it, that's bad, because the issue is we've got a lot of people that are supposed to be on our side caving in on this issue, and that's a really, really bad thing. You know, we have to make sure, first and foremost, and we're going to be telling you throughout this entire video, guys, all this stuff that we're mentioning, some of it is going to be state-specific, some of it is just general stuff to look out for, but all of this stuff, you've got to keep your ear to the ground and make sure you're calling your reps and telling them that you will can them, that they will lose their job, and you will vote them out if they support any of this legislation. And yeah, it's easy for Trey Gowdy to say, oh yeah, I'd support that. Well, yeah, that's easy for him to say because he's on the way out anyway. You know, it's troubling. You know, I just really wish that the people that we elect that are supposed to fight for our rights would actually do it. And if an organization is going to take your money, we're not going to mention who they are. You know who they are. And you know that we have, you know, some definite issues with what the NRA is doing right now. But if they're going to take your money and assumingly fight for your rights, then they need to fight for your rights. They need to fight for all of them, because it's not just a partial little piece of the pie that you can just nitpick what you like. No, it's either you support the Second Amendment or you don't. Any conversation that winds up being, well, I'm all pro-gun, but, well then my grandma told me anything that somebody says before the word but is a lie, or that they don't mean it. So you can't say that you're not pro-Second Amendment and then not support every aspect of it. And guys, they're talking about banning an inanimate object. But the worst part of it, just like we mentioned in some of the previous videos, is that where that can be taken the wrong way is what will that object be? You know, when you look at HR 3999, and this is one of the things that we obviously need to fight every step of the way, tooth and nail, it amends part of the federal criminal code to prohibit, basically, let's just say prohibit bump stocks, and also makes it a crime to manufacture, possess, or transfer such a device, blah, blah, blah. And basically, if you violate it, you're getting a fine, prison time, up to 5 years, or both. And then they're also going with the U.S. Sentencing Commission. They want them to review and amend the sentencing guidelines so that you get a stricter penalty if one of those devices is either smuggled into or out of the United States or used in a crime, which I guess I can sort of understand that. But the thing is, the issue is there's a lot of people saying, oh, well, who cares about bump stocks, right? Who cares, right? Because no serious guy is going to use bump stock, right? Well, that might be true to some degree, but the problem is you're giving them an inch and they're taking a mile. So first they get bump stocks, then they go, well, you know, this Geisley 3-gun trigger is a really awesome trigger and allows you to shoot faster, so it's a rate-increasing device. Oh, well, by the way, that light bolt carrier group They're not going to stop there. They're not going to stop until they actually ban all the semi-automatics, which we're going to get to that in a minute because there has been a bill introduced that is essentially a pretty nasty, they're not even saying assault weapons ban. They're just saying a bill to completely prohibit the sale of semi-automatic weapons, period. They're saying weapons, not rifles, not pistols, firearms.
Eric, you don't need a semi-auto to hunt with, right? You don't need a semi-auto to hunt with. That's the common thing nowadays. Oh, well, I don't hunt, but I don't really know anybody who hunts, but what do you need a semi-auto to hunt with for? Well...
any way you spin the data or any way you spin the argument, arguments can always be made in both ways depending on how you look at it. There are some arguments on their side that is definitely super, super weak, and there's arguments on our side that if they're not posed correctly can make it sound like it's a weak argument. But, it's really is a slippery slope. And where I have the issue, see, recently, we posted a thing on Facebook where we were showing the not real activist shirts and everything. And I want to make something clear on that. I mean, guys, we're not saying hate the NRA, okay? All we're saying is hold them accountable. If you are going to be a member of the NRA, then hold the organization accountable. I'm a member of the NRA. Chad's a member of the NRA. I'm also a member of GOA because I see that what Eric Pratt is doing is some really good work, and he has a no-compromise stance. I have never and never will, neither of us never will actually endorse any one group. I mean, look, you want to join GOA? Join GOA. You want to join NRA? Join NRA. But whatever group you're going to be in, whatever flag you're going to be under, make sure you hold them accountable. If they're not living up to your expectations and what they need to be doing for you and serving you properly, then make your voice heard and let them know. Vote them out. Vote them out off the board like we talked about. So we're not saying the NRA is just completely dead on the water. We're saying fix it. They need to fix it. And if you're a part of the organization, you need to do what you can to fix it. Now, if they won't listen to you, then vote with your feet and go somewhere else. We're not going to make this video about that, but I just want to make that clear. Like, everybody was thinking, oh, you guys hate the NRA. We don't hate the NRA. We don't like the NRA. We're ticked at them, as many of you should be, because a lot of people see the potential damages that getting rid of bump stocks is going to do, because it's not going to, there's nothing in HR 3999 that specifically mentions bump stocks as a device. It says rate increasing devices. So where they're going to take that, okay, so Trump is going to sign with a pen, all right, you have to do this. Well, do what? I mean, so this is so broad, what, you're going to have some commission look at it and then they're going to go, well, wait a minute. You said rate increasing devices, so let's go to the technology branch, and then the technology branch goes, well, wait a minute. A semi-automatic rifle is a rate increasing device because it can fire, one shot per pull of the trigger without a manipulation of the firearm. Oh, well, that in itself is rate increasing, therefore bye-bye. So that is the problem, is that it's opening the door to other things. We've already discussed that.
Hey, that bolt, that manual bolt on your bolt action? Yeah, well, you can put 5 rounds in there and you can fire 5 in pretty rapid succession by working that bolt. Well, I guess you just got to go to single shots. You know, because that bolt is a rate increasing device. This is the slippery slope, people.
A lot.
We've talked about this a million times. This is the slope that is slippery.
A lot of us.
That is slippery that we are talking about. Henceforth.
Why'd you get the Cockney going there?
I always get the Cockney. It was boy. It's horrible, but the slippery slope, people.
Well, yeah.
I mean, for the love of God, can you people not see this?
Well, one of the memes floating around.
Oh God,
on the internet that I think is really funny, and I shared it on Facebook the other day. In fact, I'm just going to pull it up and read it verbatim because I don't want to screw it up. Well, okay, so
which meme?
this should pretty much handle all this in a nutshell.
Oh, from Tropic Thunder?
No, it's not that
one.
Hang on, I got it right here.
Ugh.
All right. Okay.
Ugh.
This week's gun control argument in a nutshell. Because the government failed at every level, you need to have your rights curtailed by the government that just failed at every level. And that comes from Sean Davis. And that's correct. So you're asking the government to provide a solution when they weren't able to do the job that they provided a solution for in the beginning anyway. So why does that now become honest, hardworking, tax-paying American guy's problem who just wants to take care of his family and own guns for self-defense and life and liberty? Why does that now? Why does your emergency constitute Your unpreparedness constitute an emergency on my part.
Well, that's because
so unarm me.
That's because gun owners are always the scapegoat.
That's the same thing as being 450 pounds, being overweight, and then saying, all right, we have to go through the whole neighborhood and take everybody's fork because you're fat. It doesn't work that way. Or your dog bit a kid, so now we have to euthanize every dog in the neighborhood because your dog bit a kid. See how dumb that sounds? It's the same exact thing. You can't take everybody's rights away just because your feelings are hurt and it makes you feel better. Your feelings are irrelevant.
Dude.
The Second Amendment is not about feelings. The Second Amendment is clear and concise and concrete. It's there. It's a right. See, it's not a we're going to ask, okay? It's a right. It would be like me saying, going in your neighborhood and saying, well, I don't like what you say, so we're going to have to make sure that nobody else in the neighborhood has a right to say anything either. There is actually a little bit of that potentially going on. We're not going to accuse anybody of anything, but recently, like with the whole crap going on with a lot of these channels getting banned. So I've got so much stuff here written down that I can't even keep track of it all. But
give me one of those. Let me see that. Look, just pass me
this
a
is the one we're going to go over next.
But
the thing is that this last weekend, a bunch of airgun channels got banned from YouTube, like some 13 or 14 channels completely terminated off of YouTube. Tim from Military Arms channel had a bunch of shenanigans going on. Poor old Hank and Lola over there don't even have a channel anymore. I don't know if they've got it reinstated. 22 Plinkster got a strike. Big Daddy Hoffman got a strike. I got a strike.
I know that.
Greg over at Hickok 45 got a strike. I hope he doesn't mind me telling anybody that. But it was all remedied.
I know that a lot of them are
on
remedied.
our part.
Like we got our strike lifted. 22 Plinkster got his lifted. I'm not sure about like Greg. I'm not sure about Big Daddy Hoffman, but
Hickok got his lifted.
Hank's channel is gone right now.
Right.
And there's been people like his fans and a bunch of ours have been sending emails to YouTube, be like, "Hey, what in the world is going on with this crap?"
So guys, it's a slippery slope. I mean, when have we ever on this channel said, "Oh well, you anti-gun person, you don't have a right to an opinion"? We have never told anybody on here that you don't have a right to an opinion. Look, debate. That's all we ask. If you have a position that differs from ours, simply debate. It's okay to have a difference of opinion. We have never told anybody to hold their opinions back. This is an open forum for anybody to say anything they want. Now, as long as you're being respectful, we're not going to stand for any bull crap or, name calling. But if you have a legitimate point to make, we have always encouraged our viewers, whether they agree with us or not, to talk about the point that they have and debate. That's all we ask, is for a fair chance to debate. And that's what all these channels really want. It's just a place to be out here and to put our content out and to have the equal opportunity that anybody else has to state our opinion. We're not trying to, tell you not to have an opinion.
The thing that we've talked about too in the past is like, this whole flagging system on YouTube being abused. That's certainly a theory that's been going around, and I mean, it's got to be happening. There's got to be groups of people that are going around and flagging content on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, whatever the case is, for the children, right? Yeah, like these children that are refusing to go back to school until gun control gets passed. Really? You're dumb. That's my opinion. You are dumb if you were one of those kids. Now, I'm not going to go back to school until this gets handled. No.
And there needs to be Tide Pods while you're waiting.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and eat Tide Pods while you're waiting around. Yeah. There's the Darwin Award for you.
So two weeks ago, kids started eating Tide Pods, and this week now they're experts on gun control.
We're going to listen to these kids?
Well,
give me a freaking break.
Look, I will play devil's advocate. Everybody has a right to an opinion. Okay?
Well, if that's the way you want to protest and be expelled from school,
everyone has a right to an opinion. Everyone has a right to free speech.
Ridiculous.
If that's something you feel you need to do, you're a kid, look, no one's going to tell you not to do it.
You better be prepared for the consequences.
But you better be prepared for the consequences, and that's just how life is. We have consequences. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I mean, this whole freedom of speech issue is a big part of it. So, by having these channels taken down, they're denying them of their freedom of speech in addition to trying to quell their strong stance on the Second Amendment. I mean, gosh, you're going to get rid of the first two ones? I mean, what we're going to go down the list and keep going? I mean, so it is a very slippery slope.
Well, you got to get rid of the Second Amendment before you can get rid of all the other ones.
Well, anyway, so we're going to move on.
We're not talking about hunting here.
We're going to move on. Okay.
Moving on.
So House Democrats introduced a bill prohibiting the sale of semi-automatic, and they call them weapons. Well, anyway, it's not a weapon until it's used as a weapon, but that's what they're saying. And this just came out a couple of days ago.
Oh yeah, it's nice and fresh.
We'll put information down in the description box of all of the details, but basically, without boring you guys to tears, they want every single. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's semi-automatic; they want it. And this comes out of Washington D.C., and they've got 150 co-sponsors on the Democrat side already.
It doesn't say
or colleagues.
Today, I joined with Representative Cicilline and 150 plus of my colleagues to introduce the assault weapons ban. It's time for Congress to listen to the will of the majority of Americans and pass sensible legislation to get these weapons of war off our streets. Never
and that
again.
That was from Ted Douche. Is that how you say that? Douche.
Douche.
Well,
Douche.
Anyway.
The bill prohibits the sale, transfer, production, importation of semi-automatic rifles and pistols that can hold a detachable magazine, as well as semi-automatic rifles with a magazine that can hold more than 10 rounds.
Says it names 205 specific firearms that are prohibited, including the AK-47 and AR-15. So anyway, they go on to talk about a bunch of other bogus crap.
Assault weapons were made for one purpose. They are designed to kill as many people as possible in a short amount of time. They do not belong in our communities. Well, good, because assault weapons are only, never mind. I'm not even going to go there. We talked about it.
It's not a weapon. It's not a weapon until it's used as a weapon. Anyway,
my assault fork.
It's regardless. We're just going to turn this over. But that's something we really need to be looking at that, guys. I mean, follow the links in the description box below. We're going to link all of this random stuff that we're talking about so you can, check it out for yourself, read into it. But guys, we need to be calling our reps, especially people that might be a Rhino Republican. I mean, that's a real big deal. If somebody's about to swing, or if somebody's about to, potentially go over to that side on the issue, that is where we have to really, really be careful here, because we've got, Republican majority in the Senate, House. We're supposed to have a program president. I'm starting to wonder now, like many of you are. But that is where the rubber's going to meet the road here. A bill like that, it might make it out of committee for all we know. But if we can really stop it before it becomes a problem, guys, midterms are coming up. These people know it. Guys, we fought it before. We can fight it again. We have to call our reps, especially if you're in a state where your rep might be a little wishy-washy on any of your reps, or elected representatives might be wishy-washy on this. You have to tell them that you will vote them out if they support any anti-gun legislation. That's very important. Tell them that you're drafting their walking papers if they do it. And that is where you're going to hurt them, is by effect, because a lot of them are really, I hate to say it, but a lot of them are real selfish, and all they care about is power. And if they think for 1 second they're getting booted out, trust me, they're going to listen. All right, now here's another one. This just came across our desk today, and we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about this one, but this is kind of a multifaceted statement that we'll make here about what's going on. So, we're looking at Bank of America here, as well as Dick's, and we've got a whole nother list of companies.
Including one in our hometown, Delta.
Right, Delta here. And we're gonna try to stay on track here, but a lot of companies have basically been trying to give the NRA a hard time and sever ties with the NRA, and they've also been putting pressure on their industry partners to do the same thing. And it's starting to kind of work in some cases. I mean, Dick's Sporting Goods released a statement this morning that we'll link in the description box below, but basically saying that they're not going to carry any ARs or basically no black rifles in their store anymore, and they're calling on the inaction of what they call sensible gun reforms. And they're basically, Dick's is saying they are good to ban assault-style weapons, raise the minimum age to purchase a firearm to 21, high-cap mags, stricter background checks, complete database, and all this stuff. And they don't want private sales. So guess what? I will never buy another product from Dick's Sporting Goods again. The only time, and I will say this, the only time I've ever bought anything from Dick's Sporting Goods is when they did the buy one, get one free on the 22 ammo, and I went over there and I cleaned house. Because I think they might have made a mistake on what they were charging for that stuff. I went over there and I bought a whole bunch of Federal Auto Match, and that is the only time I've ever done business with those people.
This is what pisses me off the most right here. This crap. So you've got, all right, at the same time, we implore our elected officials to enact common sense gun reform and pass the following regulations. And, all right, yeah, ban assault-style rifles. Raise the minimum age to purchase firearms to 21. Well, I guess you need to raise the minimum age to participate in the military to 21 as well.
Or the draft. How about the draft?
Yeah. Ban high-capacity magazines and bump stocks. Require universal background checks that include relevant mental health information and previous interactions with law enforcement. Well, duh, that's already there, okay? Ensure a complete universal database of those banned from buying firearms. Yeah, well, the NICS.
Yeah, let me just pull that out of my pocket.
The NICS system, that's already there. All right, now this is what really ticks me off. This is what chaps me right here. Close the private sale and gun show loophole that waives the necessity of background checks. We implore our elected officials to enact common sense. Well, you don't even have common sense yourself.
All right.
Because the gun show loophole does not exist. You still have to perform a background check unless you are a concealed weapons permit holder and you are in the state that you are purchasing the firearm in. Otherwise, it has to ship to a dealer.
You're wasting your breath. You're wasting your breath on
I
these
know,
people.
but this is common sense.
Get that out of here. Okay.
Bye.
So here's something else I want to mention.
Give me a break.
The Bank of America basically came out and said that they're reviewing their policies and they're reviewing some of the relationships that they have with, they're calling them assault weapons manufacturers. Of course, we know that that's just a bogus term.
This is exactly what happened a few years ago.
Okay, look, so
under Obama.
I want to mention this, okay? This is actually not anything new. All they're doing is just making a political play, a political chip that they can throw out in the pile just to say that they did something. But the actual truth of this whole matter is that a lot of these lending institutions have already blacklisted a ton of different companies. I know, and I'm not going to go too far on this tangent, and I don't want to discuss their business because a shop that I work closely with, a gun store that I work closely with, I think you probably can put two and two together, had the same exact thing happen to them. Their bank contacted them and said, because you are a gun store, we no longer want to do business with you. And this was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep.
This is nothing new.
Nope.
All they're doing is just flexing that muscle just to try to put heat. And you know, the NRA, let's be fair. Let's give credit where it's due and let's be fair here. The NRA is taking a lot of blame right now. And the NRA, whether we like it or not, is that public eye that everybody just looks to that and they want to blame the NRA for all the bad things that happen. And I get it. They're in a really troubled time right now. There's a lot of division in the community, and I can understand it. I'm not saying support the NRA. I'm not saying support GOA. But whoever you support, make sure you hold their feet to the fire and that they work for you and they are your voice. And if they're not, tell them they're not so they know. And I do have one thing to say. I am going to give one kudos to the NRA. This is something I noticed the other day, is Dana Lausch's comments, okay? You know, back in that town hall which she was a part of. Look,
The CPAC, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, she really laid it down. And I think Dana did a wonderful job. And she even said some things in there that I feel might have even conflicted a little bit with some of the statements that the NRA has put out. So she was really her own person in that. And I was proud to see that. Dana did a great job representing.
That's common sense.
Yes. I'm proud of Dana. She did a wonderful job. And then I noticed a video that Cole Nor put out the other day that reminded me very much of an older video of his. And I was glad to see that direction. Just, hey, I'm here. I'm doing my thing. This is what we can do. So I'm glad to see that Dana understands the picture for what it is and is kind of looking past what's going on with the NRA and just thinking for herself and just being her own person. So good for you, Dana. You did a great job. I feel like she made some really solid arguments and some really solid statements, and I'm glad to see that. So that's a step in the right direction, guys. I mean, that's exactly what we need to see. And we need to hold the people in these lobbying groups accountable. If you are an NRA member, guys, call them and tell them when you're pissed off at things that they're doing. I mean, don't sit there and deal with it. Call them and tell them. Believe me, they know how I feel. They know that I have some extreme displeasure with some of the things that they're doing. So getting on away from the NRA and the way that they're taking a big backstabbing from all these companies, which that's unfortunate. One thing I did want to mention is Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle here in Georgia told Delta, well, you're not gonna dishonor the NRA. Like he put his foot down and told Delta, he basically push off.
Yeah, he basically gave him a little bit of pushback for severing ties with the NRA and all of its members that use Delta. And receive discounts based on their membership through Delta Airlines.
Correct.
So basically, he said that if they don't, play ball right, then maybe those tax cuts that they get are going to go bye-bye.
Right.
So just playing a little bit of political pool.
And it's good that, we did meet Casey Cagle not long ago. He seems like a really good guy. So I'm glad to see him, fighting for us in that way. I mean, I know it may be what's the word I'm looking? It may be what is the word I'm looking for? Mm-hmm. It might not be what is the word I'm looking for?
Huge.
No. It may not be a real big thing for him to worry about there.
I know, my brain is fried right now.
I know, my brain's fried too because there's so much information, but may not be a big consideration, but it's there, and I think it just shows that his willingness to fight. All right, now we're going to move on to the GOA. Now, this is a news blast that Eric Pratt put out, the GOA, and this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, and I want some of y'all to read over all of this and pay attention to some of it.
That's all I need to see right there. GOP leaders cave on gun control.
Yeah, and there's a picture of Trey Gowdy. So if you go over to their website and follow some of the links that they have on here, they'll give you some contacts that you can go over and email all your reps, and they also give a list of various bills. And guys, there's so much stuff going on right now, like the Fix NICS and the bump stock ban are our two biggest things that we've got to watch out for. And then also the new DC ban. And there's also a lot of state level bans that are occurring. I think one in Minnesota that is really bad that we need to watch out for.
I've got a thing pulled up right here. It says, little known rule prompts unexpected gun control hearing at Capitol this week. And by this week, this video is being filmed on a Wednesday. This committee hearing is taking place tomorrow, Thursday the 1st.
Right.
I mean, it's that immediate. So all these, pro-gun groups up in Minnesota are scrambling trying to get members to this meeting and make sure that, there's the right people on the panel.
If you do nothing else, call all the people in Minnesota and tell them, hey, you got to get over here and cause a stir, okay?
For the most part, it's just, the typical assault weapons ban deal, universal background checks. I mean, it's the same old song and dance, but it's on state level. And this is happening in Minnesota, Rhode Island, Florida, South Carolina, I believe. Probably will come up in Georgia, but, our Senate and House is pretty good. We're going to squash that.
Oh, they're going to, they're going to laugh that right off.
But the thing is, if nothing gets done on a federal level, all these states are going to wind up like Massachusetts, or California, or New York,
I think there has been another bill put in California that's very similar to the DC bill.
What more can they do in California?
But the thing is, other than confiscation, which they probably would love that, but you have to assume that all the usual suspects are going to be in play here. So all the Pelosi's and people like that of the world, they're just, Feinstein and all her cronies, they're just dreaming and scheming like little witches with a cauldron. Am I pretty? Let's throw that trigger in here. Let's throw that stock in here.
Look, I'm no conspiracy.
That's what's happening.
I'm no conspiracy theorist. I don't really get into the whole false flag thing and all that mess, but I really do think that some of these big financiers, is that the right word?
Bankers, whatever you want to call them.
Like George Soros and Bloomberg and all these huge anti-gun organizations, they flood money into local communities and get people out there organized on a grassroots level. Grassroots doesn't just mean conservatives and Republicans and libertarians getting together and gun owners and all that. I mean, grassroots is on all sides. But they get these people together to organize these protests with these kids and stuff. It's like, hey, come out here, hold this sign, do this.
They pay them and they bust them over there.
I really do believe in that because there's a lot of proof of it. You know, I mean, first-hand proof too.
Actors that they hire and everything. I mean, it's a whole organized thing.
These protests and stuff like that, they don't just pop up. They are organized.
Right.
They are organized. And we have to be just as organized on a pro-gun side as well. And it's just that complacency that we talk about. People are like, oh, yeah, well, Trump's in office. Well, what are you saying right now? Are you still complacent? I mean, I can't handle this anymore.
There's so much stuff going on that there's probably things that we even forgot to talk about specifically mention. But I think the biggest takeaway from this video, guys, is make sure, for the love of God, make sure that you're following everything closely that's going on in your state. Even if you live in a state where things are relatively, easygoing because you've got a really pro-gun state you live in, don't assume. Always make the phone calls and express your disgust for everything that's going on. If you live in a state where the Republicans are caving in, I mean, of all people, guys, Trey Gowdy, come on. Have you heard some of the pro-gun arguments that Trey Gowdy has made in the past? I mean, have you? I mean, he's made some really good arguments for our case. Like, at one point, I considered him to be like a hero of the Second Amendment. And then this guy is saying, oh, I'd be okay with banning bump stocks. And that's Trey Gowdy, of all people.
Talk about a cave-in.
Dude,
man.
talk about a cave-in. If he is publicly saying, all right, we'll go for it, what people are just going to go,
well, Trey Gowdy is saying that it's probably something that we should look into, because reasons.
Because reasons, yeah.
I mean,
so
maybe I don't know. There's a lot of my constituents now that are kind of on the fence about this. Yeah, FUDs.
Right. So we have to be careful about this, guys. Make sure that you're calling all your reps. I mean, we're going to have a lot of contact information in the description box below. Make sure you get with people.
I have a suggestion for those of you who don't, really call your reps and stuff too much. I suggest that you find the link. I'll put a link in the description box below to the GOA where you can go on there and you can find your state reps and your U.S. reps, the Senate and the Congress and whatnot as well, or the Senate and the House. Put them in your phone on speed dial. Put them in your phone. Put all of your reps in your phone. Have their lines to their offices right there in your phone. That way when this stuff pops up, you don't have to go hunting for it. You can just say, okay, I have a concern about this new bill that's in the works right now. Yeah, I'd just like to express my opinion about it, and I'm going to pull my support for you. It's that simple.
Look, guys, and
get on the horn and call these people and hound them to death.
Here's another part of it. Okay, this is what I mentioned. I know some people aren't too good at talking on the phone when it comes to stuff like that. I know some folks just don't have that gift of like, hey, I'm gonna state my opinion. I'm gonna put it out there. Look, do this. Sit down with just a notepad. Write a statement and read it to them. If that's what you need to do, gather your thoughts. You don't have to be put on the spot. You can call them whenever you're ready. Sit down and write out a statement. You're like, hey, these are the points I'd like to discuss. Even if you just write down some bullet points, don't stumble. You know what I mean? Write out your points. Call them. Be respectful. Say, hey, I'm a concerned citizen. This is how I feel. This is where I stand on this. I would be very proud if you would support us instead of caving in to the pressure. And trust me, they will resonate much better with a professional and concise statement than, well, you ain't about taking my guns away, boy. I won't get down there. You start getting all hick on them. Yeah, of course they're gonna be like, whatever. But you know what I mean? You gotta be professional.
You are these people's constituents.
Constituents. You ain't my constituents.
Anyway.
But you are their constituent. You put them into office to represent you and your ideals and what you stand for. And you, as a constituent, have a responsibility to make that known when this kind of stuff is going on. You cannot just sit on the back burner and be like, yeah, well, we're good. I'm not even going to turn the news on because Trump's in office. I ain't got nothing to worry about. All right. I'm just going to sit on the porch and smoke my pipe.
Don't assume, guys.
Chew my straw.
Don't assume.
I mean, gosh.
Don't be like Nero and play fiddle while Rome burns.
Yep. I'm still just dumbfounded by all this crap that's going on and just the continuity of having to deal with it. It's just killing me.
I know.
Mentally, I'm just exhausted.
Well, guys, look.
God, I know you are.
Another thing, just very quickly, and we're going to end today's video. I do want to mention, guys, do your research. Research into things. Do your own independent research. Look into things. Develop an opinion. Be an engaging member of your community. I mean, and guys, I'll just very quickly mention too, there's a lot of folks that are even like on the gun world that are taking just kind of a nonchalant stand-away stance on all this kind of stuff. Like, oh, well, we'll never get political with what we're doing. Well, guess what? If you're in the gun world, it's political whether you like it or not. If you own a gun, guess what? You are engaged in a battle to protect your rights because just being a gun owner is a political statement in of itself. So, these people that are like, oh, I've got this big, massive audience here on social media, but I'm just going to sit around and do nothing because nobody's bothering me. Look, you're just as much of a problem as the people who are against us. I mean, if you're not using your voice, if you use firearms to make a living and you're not using your voice, what are you doing? Why are you even engaged in doing that?
My thing is, the Second Amendment to the Constitution was put in place for a reason by the people who founded this nation and fought for this nation. If we did not have that, if they did not have the foresight to say, you know what, the government probably will try to take guns away one day, so we need to instill this in our document to make sure that this right that is given to you when you are born, the rights that you have are bestowed on you when you were born, not just because somebody wrote them down on a piece of paper, but we have the Second Amendment for a reason. If we were like Australia or Britain or any of these other countries without a solid foundation for gun ownership in their country's constitution, we would already be down that same line.
That's right.
You know, if we did not have that, if our forefathers did not have the foresight to do that and to think ahead, we would be up crap creek right now. You know, so that's another thing that everyone out there needs to think about too, is that we have something that not a lot of other countries in the world have. You know, that's why do you think people want to come to the U.S.? Why do you think the floodgates are, you know, always just open and just, you know, people are flowing in? They want to come here because of the rights that we have, and a lot of people out there take them for granted. Not just the Second Amendment, they take the First Amendment for granted too. They take all our rights for granted. You know, and it's just sad. It's a sad state of affairs.
Don't tell me anything I don't know.
I know. I'm preaching the
and
choir.
And you're preaching the choir here, but people, we have to get involved. So,
oh man,
he's right. So look, guys, we graciously appreciate all of you that support us. I mean, a lot of this stuff that came across our desk that we have put out in this video is all stuff that you guys shared on Facebook, things that you brought to our attention, things that we've been seeing on social media, things that, you know, guys like Tim at Military Arms Channel, things that he shares, things that Mr. Guns and Gear shares. So guys, we try to just be a collective voice in that whole fight. If I see something going on, we're going to try to always do some type of a video to bring it to light and to make sure people know what's going on.
That's the beauty of this community.
It is the beauty of this community.
Intertwined.
And for now, it's here. So guys, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to be here. Because, you know, those of you that support us, it's a really big deal, guys. I mean, we're in a very volatile situation in a volatile community where we're ultimately probably not wanted. And guys, when you support us on Patreon, when you donate money on Patreon, or you buy a t-shirt to help support the channel, or if you purchase a man can, guys, all of those funds allow us to keep continuing to do this stuff and to do it in a just middle of the line, open way where we can be completely honest with you guys. We don't have to answer to any editors. We don't have to answer any bullcrap. We get to do what we need to do, and you give us that ability to do that. So guys, when you support us on Patreon or you buy a shirt, go over to Forge from Freedom, check out our shirt designs. All the funds that we earn off of those go right back into funding the channel. You know, consider a shirt or a Patreon donation, or consider purchasing a man can or subscribing to man cans to help support us on a monthly basis if you want.
Be sure to buy one of the Not Real Activist shirts if you are attending the meeting, which may or may not be in Dallas this year. We don't know yet.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. We have no idea. We talked about that last time, but that's kind of up in the air right now.
The governor of Texas was like, yeah, you might want to.
No, was it the governor of Texas? No, it was the mayor of Dallas.
The mayor of Dallas was like, y'all need to get out of here. Well, anyway, guys, this video could go on forever, but enjoy your day. Guys, fight for your rights before you lose them. And we appreciate all of you who support us, and we appreciate all of our viewers. And we appreciate folks that contribute in terms of sending us over various articles.
And a huge thank you to those of you who actually get on the horn and contact your reps on a regular basis.
Above all, most importantly, thank you. If you have your rep's phone number plugged in your phone and you call them and you express your concern, you are the reason that this stuff gets stonewalled at every turn. So guys, thanks for watching today's video. We'll catch you all next time. Have a good one.
See you guys.